Hey Simlies, it's Deli here with another speed build. It's going to be the Desert Fairy Cave, which you got a sneak peek of it just then. Basically, I said a little while ago that I wanted to do a build for a fairy, and this one is going to be very different to what your stereotypical fairy build would be. One main and obvious thing is that it's set in the desert, and you know, this fairy is really exotic looking. There's a lot of bright, vibrant colors that she wears, and the theme of the build is actually kind of a Moroccan / Indian theme. So I know a lot of you guys will kind of be, I don't know, maybe a bit taken aback by that, but I just felt like doing something really different, something really creative that I hadn't seen before. I get tired of the stereotype of fairies living in forests and with a lot of kind of brown wood and greens and whatnot. So that's why we're going for more exotic fairy, very rich colors, a lot of vibrant colors as well. And we're in the town of, or the world of Lucky Palms, which was very kindly gifted to me by a Simly, and I've been really excited to use it. I didn't expect to use it for this build, but I had a lot of fun with it, so thank you so much. And I also started off this build kind of in the middle of nowhere because I put a lot in the middle of the desert in Lucky Palms. I didn't want it near any buildings or anything like that, or any roads, but I did find this area where the lot kind of fitted really nicely using the Create a World tool, and it kind of sits in front of some mountains of rock. So that's kind of where I got the idea of this cave or fairy cave idea from. And so here we are lifting up a lot of the terrain around it. So it's kind of encased within this very, I don't know, mountainous area. And that means that there's only windows at the front. So it's very cozy. It's also quite a small build. It's fit for one fairy, and I guess fairies are usually meant to be pretty small, so that's okay. It's an interesting shape as well. I kind of wanted it to have a almost circular orientation, and there's also a lot of plants and a bit of pond action that we end up putting around. I started off with the pool tool, but it wasn't natural enough having pools, I think, so we go with a more natural pool area. Which we're putting in now. There's actually quite a bit of mucking around with this. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing here, and for some reason the stairs weren't actually placed at the end of that ramp, I guess, which is really annoying. But in the end I fixed it, and we'll get there in the end. But using the spotty carpet, which I often use as a base carpet, and I've noticed watching a lot of other people's speed builds, they use it as well. I think it's just the one that everyone seems to automatically click on. So using a little bit of constrained floor elevation here to kind of make the roofing a little bit interesting. Kind of had this idea that I wanted to reflect the idea of fairy wings in the roof, so that's why it's got this kind of airplane look about it. But in the end, it doesn't really have a wing look at all. It's just kind of piled rocks on top, which doesn't sound too good, does it? But I think it works in the end. I like this build just because it's something I haven't done before. But yeah, definitely was just enjoying experimenting with a lot of different things. This kind of crisscrossed roof here, we do get rid of it. We also put a bit of fencing on top of it. That's the reason why I was doing that in the first place, to place fencing across it. And I don't know, it just didn't really look like anything special, so I do get rid of it. Speaking of fences, I love that fence that came with Lucky Palms. I really wanted to use it in this build, but unfortunately I couldn't. It just didn't fit the build, but I am so keen to use it in another build, that is for sure. So yeah, just drawing out some fencing here, and I delete everything underneath it, so it kind of had this floating roofing look about it, which I thought would be kind of cool. And I put rocks under it, so like the rocks were holding it up, or the boulders were, but it was just a hot mess. I don't know, it just didn't look any good at all, so let's just ignore this part. And yes, it definitely gets deleted. These little, I don't even know what you call them, roof decorations, I suppose, I really, really love. I'm not even sure where they came from. They may have come from Dragon Valley, but don't quote me on that because I have no idea. But But yeah, they're really sweet, and we do use one of them, I think, at the front of the roof. But yeah, putting in lots of boulders. We use World Adventures boulders because they have that lovely sandy color to them. They're not grey, like the ones that come in the base game. And obviously the sand colored goes a lot more nicely or harmoniously with the boulders in the background. So that's why we did that. I also was very, very tempted to use these roofing pieces from the Circus store set. They're really, really fun to use. I want to do more builds with them. It's just a matter of finding time to do builds. I've been quite busy recently, and yeah, it's just a great set. It's a great set if you're a builder and you want to start doing some really interesting things. You can be so creative with them. If you saw my treehouse build, I think it was, I used a bit of it in that as well as kind of hanging tarps. So you definitely don't have to go with the circus theme when using them. This roof, using CFE again, I don't know, I was just going crazy with it. Just making it all, I don't know, going up and down and sinking and rising, and kind of having this idea that it would be this crazy roof. But in the end, I think the best thing was to just go simple. Simple is best. I was seeing if I could kind of fit any statue on top of there, what that would look like. I guess I was a little bit inspired by Rome in that sense, in the Vatican. But in the end, we don't do that whole statue thing. It just didn't look quite right, in my opinion. So, yeah, just continuing to put lots and lots of rocks around. But the weirdest thing happened, actually. When I was working on the house and I put the boulders on the roof, whenever I went down a level, the rocks would disappear depending on what level you were on. But then when I came back into my game, the rocks would stay stationary no matter what level you went on. So in the end, we actually had to remove a lot of rocks. So when you go up and down the levels, you can actually still see in. Ideally, I probably would have liked to cover the entire roof in rocks and foliage, but I think it still works in the end, so that's all good. Another thing I wanted to discuss is that a lot of usimlies have been asking how I got the Creator Sim demo for The Sims 4. There seems to be a lot of confusion on that still. I know a lot of people have explained how you get the demo, but just to say it once more, the demo has been released bit by bit to all Simmers who are registered through Origin. So if you don't have the demo yet, what will happen is it will appear in your Origin account under your games, and you'll be able to download it from there. Or you will get an email notification saying that you are able to download it. So that's how you get it. It's not just given out to certain people or anything like that. They just understandably weren't able to release it to the entire world at once. That would just be way too overwhelming for the system. So the system they use to download games. So that's why. So yeah, if you don't have it yet, they did say that everyone will have it before The Sims 4 comes out, which is really, really soon. So yeah, it must not be too far off if you don't have it yet. But yeah, hope that clears it up for a few of you. Fixing up this water at the front again, and we kind of make a bridge here, which I think is quite nice. So you get to kind of stroll across the water, maybe go for a fish off the ledge if you're really keen. And yeah, something I actually haven't done before. I've never deleted the wall going through a lake or a pond, so that was interesting. That was something a little bit new. And yeah, the roofing's just a hot mess right now, an absolute hot mess. I think roofing is the hardest thing in builds. That's why I'm really looking forward to using the Sims 4 roofing tool, because from the looks of it, it looks so awesome. Like, it looks so flexible and so tactile. It'll be really fun to use. And I also liked that the rocks I guess the rocks are coming through the walls, so you kind of get that idea that it's in a cave. And I've done that deliberately. The rocks just aren't sticking through the wall accidentally. I wanted them to be seen, which is just a bit of fun. Trying to use that fencing again on the top of the house, but failed. It just didn't look right. If it was a little bit shorter, we could have used it. But in the end, we just go with a hedge. I think the hedge works okay, and it gives it some nice greenery amongst the harsh desert, the desert land. And I think also that if we put some plants in a second and some foliage, it looks quite nice as well. But yeah, all of these rocks on top of there, we end up deleting a lot of them because you can't actually see into the cave or the house when you log out of the game and come in again. I don't know if that's a glitch. Like, I don't know why it did that. Oh, and I went through this stage of putting statues up there again. But I kind of got over the statues idea. Sneaky save because my game has been crashing so much recently. Definitely time for Sims 4, I think. That'll be refreshing, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, the statues idea is kind of a cool idea, to make it look like they're being carved out of rocks, but it was just a bit much. It looked more Grecian or Italian or European or something like that. Not that you can't view this build like that, but I don't know, it was a bit hardcore for me, for my liking. So we do get rid of them. I love this fairy statue that comes from Showtime. Oh, the fairy statue, it's awesome. It kind of seems like it doesn't really fit in with the Showtime theme, but I'm so glad it came with that expansion because I love it. I used it in my other Supernatural build, where it was quite a big build, but I love this statue, I really do. Putting in some trees and shrubbery to make it look like it's really built into a mountainside. And I guess because fairies are magical, you could say that they're good at gardening and that they can grow plants even in the middle of the harsh desert. So there you go. I also, while I was building this, I was thinking if you guys ever played Nintendo 64, Zelda, the Ocarina of Time. Was it Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask? I think it was Ocarina of Time. You used to go into like fairy caves and you had to collect all the fairies, or you'd see a big fairy. And I was kind of thinking of that when I did this because I just remember that was a really, really beautiful part of the game. And I think the fairies, there was like a fire fairy and a water fairy and like an earth fairy. And I thought it would be so cool to do like this fairy as like the desert fairy, and then to do a water fairy in a more watery world, like Isla Paradiso or somewhere like that. And then you could do a forest fairy, and that build could be in, I don't know, Hidden Springs or something like that. I don't know. I thought that would be really fun, but I don't know how much time I have to be able to do that with everything else going on. It would be so much fun though. I mean, I might do it. Let me know if you want to see that. Because I did enjoy this a lot. Actually, that reminds me, in the Zelda game, the fairies, they were fairy fountains. So there were fountains in each of the games. Fountain in each of the games. What am I talking about? There was a fountain in each of the fairy caves. So in this build, we actually do put a fountain in the bathroom. I don't know, kind of weird to put a fountain in the bathroom, but I thought, you know, you can imagine that they'd bathe in the fountain or something like that. I don't know. But that definitely came from the inspiration of Zelda. Oh, Zelda was so good. Those were the good old days. But anyway, back to the build. I liked putting that hedge around the roof decoration there. Kind of is a nice rounded, I don't know, feature of the build, I guess. Trying out some different fencing here. I really didn't like that fencing. I find that fence a little bit ugly. Maybe that fence was from Dragon Valley, I'm not sure. But I love all these cactus plants. When I saw the bright, vibrant oranges in those cacti plants and the yellows, it really inspired me to go with a very, very colourful interior. So some of you guys might be a little bit overwhelmed by the interior on this build, so do brace yourselves. It's going to get pretty hectic in terms of vibrancy in a little while. Starting off with these fairy statues out the front. We're going with a very rich orange, however we do dull it down a bit on the outside. And I kind of make the fairies, or the fairy statues, look like they're made out of bronze, like bronze sculptures. Thought that went with the desert theme, and I was playing around with having a nice blue door or a green door. Tried out a few colours. Now I look back on it, green is really nice. Should have gone with the green. I think we do blue though. Blue's still cooler. It's really funny when you look back on builds, when you watch them back and you're just like, oh, I should have done that. Oh well. A bit of a mismatched fairy going on there, but we end up just having one at the entrance. One thing I find annoying in The Sims 3 is that you can't mirror objects or reflect them. So they kind of face the same way, which is annoying. I really wanted to put in an archway to go with this Moroccan theme or Indian theme, but then I recalled from the store I got a free set once. I don't know how I got it for free. God, that sounds so shady. It was perfectly legal, but I think they just gave away the India set once for free, and I definitely got onto that download. And there were these really cool archways, but they weren't proper door archways. They were more decor archways. And so we use a few of those in this build, and right now I am searching for it. It took me a while to find, but I did enjoy using them. And in the meantime, we pull out a whole heap of Indian/Moroccan themed things, and there's the arch I'm talking about. I love this arch, and I really like the idea of having all blue walls. It's just like crazy vibrancy in this interior. It was so much fun. Just so much fun. You guys know I love color, and I haven't really done a build with this kind of color before, so it's definitely fun to mix it up a bit. And I adore that rug. That rug, I believe, is from the store. And just as a reminder, I don't use any custom content. You may have realized in the start of this video, in the Create a Sim part, there were a few custom content items there, and that was due to a download of someone else's creation. So I don't usually use custom content, but I did for that sim actually use custom eyeliner, which is new for me. I never use it. Haven't used custom content for ages, since before I was doing YouTube, where I used to get lots of different hairs. So that's a little bit different for me. But yeah, putting in the kitchen here, I love how the counters kind of are built into the rocks, and there's a rock that is above the counters as well. I thought that was pretty cool, and we use the old school fridge that comes with the Sims 3 Supernatural. I also enjoyed putting in the eating area on the side there, again kind of built into the rock, and we have a sink as well that's separate to the other counters in the kitchen. I liked the idea of it being a little bit higgledy-piggledy. It's not your conventional kitchen as such. It's a little bit different, and I think that suits the theme, or the fact that this build is for a fairy. It's not going to be your usual build, so that's why I did that. I also put in the baking set oven as well, because that's a bit of fun too if you do have that set. And a shelf here was super fun to kind of wedge into the rock there. I think it'd be a really cool idea to do a very modern build using this idea of having rocks kind of coming through the walls. I saw it incredible in real life, like a real life build of, it was a castle, like a really old school castle that had been renovated to be half castle, half really modern. So there was a lot of big boulders kind of coming through walls and stuff like that, and it was so dope. Like, it blew me away. Oh, I'm gonna have to find the link to that because I really want to look at it again now, but I don't actually know where it was. Damn it. Oh well. Those poof cushions, the poofs, I only know to call them poofs. They came with the Bohemian Garden set, and they were perfect for this build. I tried to put in a lot of supernatural items as well, and I figured this fairy would be artistic. So I also gave her the artistic trait, and she has a nice easel there as well. Another sneaky save that can act as a reminder to all of you to remember to save your game. And yeah, I put in a few fountains as well. I don't think that was recorded, but just put in a fountain kind of over the entranceway too. And yeah, I think we're just getting pretty close to the ending of the furnishing. On Twitter, I asked you guys what would be needed for a fairy's house, and I didn't realize, but the fairies can actually sleep in these little fairy housing things. And I was so confused with what to do with it because it totally doesn't suit the rest of the interior of this. So I'm pretty sure I just blend it into the rock there to make it look like it's a part of that boulder. It's a brownie color, which isn't very exciting, but we do have a ton of colors going on in here, so I think in the whole scheme of things, it's okay that it's not too colorful. It's already pretty overwhelming. I wanted to use this archway over the bed area. I had the initial idea that the bed would be a single bed, but then I thought, you know what? Sapphire the fairy might want to meet a fairy dude, another fairy sim, so we do get a double bed in the end. But I was kind of playing with the idea of layering or putting curtains with these archways, or maybe just having the fairy house in the middle of that archway creation as well, instead of having a bed. But I know that fairies, or at least someone told me fairies can sleep in a normal bed if they would like to. So they have the option of the little fairy house, or they can sleep in the glorious double bed here. I think that bed actually also came with the India set I was talking about. I think. Yeah, but it's a pretty sick bed. I reckon it'd be awesome to have a 4-poster bed with drapery on it. Do any of you guys have a 4-poster bed with drapery on it? If you do, I am super duper jealous. I've always wanted one of these beds. That would be hella tat dog, as Tom and James would say. I've been saying that non-stop since they came down from Sydney to stay with me. If you don't know, they're other YouTubers, Cryptic Zeus and The Sim Supply. They're a hoot though, a total hoot. Putting in some mirrors as well there above the fireplace, in case it gets a bit cold, because apparently the desert, even though it can be very hot during the day, it can be super duper cold at night. I know this because my dad has been working in the desert recently, and he says it's freezing at nightfall, which is really interesting. I don't really know how that works, but hey, it does. The bathroom is cute too. It has an old school bath with kind of a draw across curtain, and there is the fountain I was talking about earlier. Had a bit of a struggle recoloring it, but we get it together in the end, like we usually do. Well, at least I hope we do. But yeah, I also put a fountain piece or water piece through that as well to make it a bit more dramatic from buy mode. Oh no, not buy mode, build mode. And putting in a few of these fun lights, and we also put in some fairy lights too, because on Twitter you guys said to put fairy lights in, so I totally did that. A couple of store items there, just random knickknacks. I think they look quite nice at the front entrance there, and adding in an extra chair as well. I kind of went with this coral color, thinking it would be interesting, and I was like, well, if I do this wall, then I'll have to change the bed, and then I just kind of started changing everything, and then I was like, hold up, we need to step back and maybe not change the entire interior, because I liked how it was looking originally. So we do change the bed a little bit. I think it looks better with this pattern on it, but we get rid of the coral wall because it just looked a bit better red, I think. We change it in a second. Putting the fairy lights in. The fairy lights hang across the entranceway, which I think's quite cute. Gives that magical sense, as well as these lotus flowers / lights that sit in the middle of the lake. Also, someone said to put in some planter pots on Twitter as well. A couple of you said that, so I put in some planting pots. Apparently fairies in The Sims 3 can master the flower skill or blooming skill or something like that. Something special. And yeah, we change this to red. Anyway, moving on to the screenshots. So here's the exterior. It's definitely very different to what I have ever done, and there's the lovely Sapphire enjoying her house in the desert, the only place where there's fresh water by the looks of it. But anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of this build. I know it might be overwhelming for a few of you, but it was different, it was fun. It's always good to try something new, something out of the ordinary, and to keep pushing the boundaries. Anyway guys, hope you're having a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!